Iconoclash.
Welcome, one and all, to Iconoclash, where we slide across the slippery, sweat and beer-soaked floors of rock and roll's hallowed halls to find the most important news this side of a Tommy Lee blood test. I'm Johnny Eldritch, your host, ready to take you on a journey into a Deep South showdown harsh as a shot of rot gut whiskey. Tonight, we're rewinding the tape to 1991, when hair metal was on life support and the alternative scene was just starting to bubble under the surface. Enter the Black Crowes, a rising young band that looked like they just rolled out of a time machine from the 70s. Armed with a hit debut record, they were given a killer spot opening for the legendary ZZTop. The kings of Texas boogie rock, ZZTop were riding high themselves, touring their recent album, Recycler. Stage seems set for a classic rock team-up, right? Hold your steel horses.
You guys had like a falling out with ZZTop, right, when you were on tour? Wasn't part of it something about corporate involvement?
On episode 2177 of JRE, Joe Rogan sat down with the Black Crowes singer Chris Robinson. While Robinson discussed the authenticity of early punk and post-punk bands like 45 Grave, Suicide, and the Dead Boys, Rogan brought up the now infamously unceremonious sacking of the Black Crowes from the ZZTop tour back in 1991.
So we'd go on stage and do our thing, and there's big Miller Lite posters all over the stage or whatever, you know.
According to Chris, the reason for the fallout was as rock and roll as it gets. Antagonism toward the tour's corporate sponsors. Longtime veterans, ZZTop had the tour all set up with big brand sponsorships, something the Black Crowes weren't all about.
You know, we're playing with ZZTop, who are already and getting into their, almost third decade of what they were. So at the time, I imagine they were, they had received quite a financial reward for that kind of corporate involvement. 2 nights into a 3-night stand in their hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, Robinson took aim at the headliner's perceived sellout.
We're the Black Crowes, you know what I mean? No one gives us money. We don't drink this beer. No one gives us fucking money.
You can imagine right at this moment, backstage, it just sounds like a tremendous record scratch as the faces, the wallets, and the buttholes of ZZTop and their team tightened like a noose.
I'm standing under this sign because I have to be here tonight, but I want you to know that no fucking beer company sponsors our music. No one owns us.
Coupled with Robinson's now 3-month-old habit of informing audiences that the Black Crowes set was live rock and roll being brought to you commercial-free, Miller Brewing had enough.
We were really hardcore about our independence and rock and roll.
No corporation.
We'd go out there, we don't sing for this and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, if you keep it up, we're going to throw you off the tour. And
did it.
I did it.
Robinson would remark regarding managerial attempts to suppress his anti-ad crusade. Basically, the sponsorship and the management tried to censor what to me was just a statement about what we, the Black Crowes, are. Doing the best we can, being free to be what we are, and that music is really the only thing we have control over in our lives.
Came down through, our management that they were upset with the comments, that the corporate sponsors at their corporate events at the concerts didn't appreciate it, and that came down. Then the band didn't like it, and the band's management.
I'm not into this.
The upstart singer didn't mince words when the pressure came down. I said, "Don't tell me what to say. Kick us off." And they did.
They were trying to censor what we were about, and we don't really dig that. We got into it because we wanted to play music, and not have anyone tell us what to do.
All I'm saying is, I think it's silly to call yourself a rock and roll band and to be in arenas with all these people paying all this money and to still have to have big corporate signs everywhere. Just to peddle some really not even a very good product we felt as fans of beer.
I'm going to be hiding over here behind an amplifier.
Chris and Rich announced they'd been canned on phone and radio show Rockline, adding, "We're not sponsored by anyone. We're the Black Crowes. We feel it's important to be able to say whatever you want." Chris would tell Rolling Stone, "It's like I was in high school. I got into this because I didn't think anyone would ever do that. Certainly not guys who work for other bands." ZZTop never directly discussed the incident in interviews, and honestly, they had every right to support an expensive tour with sponsorship, the same as any other major act does. No reason to think they were motivated by an excess of greed.
We went through that 30 years ago when we grew long hair and the rest of the Texans had cowboy hats. I mean, it's like Everybody has an opinion.
But the Black Crowes weren't 30-year veterans. They had a path that needed blazing and a point to prove.
I don't answer to any corporations, really. You know, I don't have anyone sponsor my tours. I signed a contract to go on tour with ZZTop and play some music.
Robinson would later reflect his beef wasn't just with Miller Lite or ZZTop or sponsorship itself, but with the trajectory of American culture. Telling Rolling Stone, "I'd point out to people that this is real, in the flesh." He argued, it's rock and roll. They're not watching TV, and there's not going to be any commercials. He would attempt to clarify that his live statement was more of a comment toward those bands who look at what they do as commercials. Here's my 3-minute commercial for my album. Whatever the motivation, driven by hometown interest, the drama didn't go unnoticed. The media had a field day with the news that the Black Crowes had been kicked off the tour, as headlines like "Crows plucked from ZZTop tour" made the rounds, painting Robinson as the rebel who wouldn't bow to corporate takeover of art.
News headlines, Black Crowes thrown off the ZZTop tour.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yes, of course I do. It was like we were fired.
But this is what a rock and roll band does.
For his part, he was amused, remarking, "I never thought I'd be on the cover of the Atlanta Journal unless I killed someone." Robinson will tell you it was all about the principle. Maybe it was, but let's not forget this is a guy who's never been shy about speaking his mind or letting his ego do the talking.
It'd be this uphill battle, us trying to kick rock and roll again.
The band might have thought they were sticking it to the man, but getting kicked off a major tour when you've just released your debut album, it's a hit to the wallet and of the career. Fallout's a mixed bag. The Crowes got a rebel badge, and the press, good or bad, kept their name hot.
You know what? It worked in our favor.
Their next album, even if it didn't ultimately sell as well, still hit number 1 on the American charts. However, internal struggles and a shifting musical landscape meant the very debut album they were touring in 1991 would remain their most financially successful effort. In a career marred by multiple breakups and reunions, the Black Crowes deviated from their sound, alienated their fans, and one another. But singer Chris Robinson continues to stoke his rock and roll idealism.
What we feel is really the true essence of rock and roll. It's like, I describe it as like the movie Quest for Fire, you know, when they have to keep the fire burning in that little thing and they're going across the swamp.
The Black Crowes' music and image was built as an homage to the pure spirit of rock and roll, and they echoed that spirit in their attitude.
That philosophy still runs deep in who we are. That's our belief in counterculture and us versus them.
ZZTop had one more platinum record left in them, 1994's Antenna, before they would see sales of their new album slip. But ZZ stayed true to their spirit, their sound, and each other, becoming the longest-running band with an unchanged lineup in the history of popular music.
For us, it was the music first, and it'll always be the music.
ZZ rocked for an astounding 51 years before 2021 would see the death of bassist Dusty Hill. Was their consistency supported by commercial viability?
We just play the music, you know, you do the dance.
In the end, the Black Crowes didn't need ZZ Top's tour to make a name for themselves, but the incident sure added to their rebel mystique. Chris Robinson seems to have 20/20 hindsight regarding ZZ Top and where their heads might have been at the time.
I don't even know if ZZTop, where they were in their career, if they knew anything that was going on about like these guys that were the opening band. We've been friends for many years and a massive ZZTop fan. I mean, those records, especially the early records, I mean, they just sound delicious. You know what I mean?
Sadly, there may not exist an enduring hatred between these two bands. The tale serves as a timeless example of what happens when rock and roll rebels collide with the business side of music. That's all for today, Feud Fiends. Catch us next time when we dissect another star-studded spat that'll make you glad you're not famous. Have a good day, even if you have to ruin someone else's. That's your choice.
Like us, subscribe to us, submit to us. Until next time, Feud Fiends, this has been Iconoclash.